Luke chapter 18. And he also spoke in allegory to them, that it is always necessary to pray and not to faint, saying, A certain judge was in a certain city. He is not fearing God, and he is not regarding man. And a widow was in that city, and she was coming to him, saying, Do me justice on my opponent. And he would not for a time. But after these things he said in himself, Even if I do not fear God and do not regard man, yet, because this widow gives me trouble, I will do her justice, lest, continuously coming, she may bruise me. And the Lord said, Hear what the unrighteous judge says. And will God not execute justice to his chosen ones, who are crying to him day and night, bearing long in regard to them? I say to you that he will execute justice to them quickly. But the Son of Man having come, will he find faith on the earth? And he also spoke to some, who, having been trusting in themselves that they were righteous, and having been despising the rest, this allegory. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee, and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, having stood by himself, thus prayed, God, I thank you that I am not as the rest of men, rapacious, unrighteous, adulterers, or even as this tax collector. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all things, as many as I possess. And the tax collector, having stood far off, would not even lift up the eyes to the sky, but was striking on his breast, saying, God, be propitious to me, the sinner. I say to you, this one went down declared righteous to his house, rather than that one. For everyone who is exalting himself will be humbled, and he who is humbling himself will be exalted. And they were also bringing the babies near, that he may touch them. And the disciples, having seen, rebuked them. And Jesus, having called them near, said, Permit the little children to come to me, and do not forbid them, for of such is the kingdom of God. Truly I say to you, whoever may not receive the kingdom of God as a little child may not enter into it. And a certain ruler questioned him, saying, Good teacher, what having done will I inherit continuous life? And Jesus said to him, Why do you call me good? No one is good except one, God. You have known the commandments. You may not commit adultery. You may not murder. You may not steal. You may not bear false witness. Honor your father and your mother. And he said, All these I kept from my youth. And having heard these things, Jesus said to him, Yet one thing to you is lacking. All things, as many as you have, sell and distribute to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, follow me. And he, having heard these things, became very sorrowful, for he was exceedingly rich. And Jesus, having seen him become very sorrowful, said, How hardly will those having riches enter into the kingdom of God! For it is easier for a camel to enter through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. And those who heard said, And who is able to be saved? And he said, The things impossible with men are possible with God. And Peter said, Behold, we left all and followed you. And he said to them, Truly I say to you, that there is not one who left house or parents or brothers or wife or children for the sake of the kingdom of God, who may not receive back manifold more in this time, and in the coming age, continuous life. And having taken the 12 aside, he said to them, Behold, we go up to Jerusalem, and all things will be accomplished that have been written through the prophets to the Son of Man. For he will be delivered up to the nations, and will be mocked, and insulted, and spit on. And having scourged, they will put him to death, and on the 3rd day he will rise again. And they understood none of these things, and this saying was hid from them, and they were not knowing the things said. And it came to pass in his coming near to Jericho, a certain blind man was sitting beside the way, begging. And having heard a multitude going by, he was inquiring what this may be. And they brought him word that Jesus the Nazarene passes by. And he cried out, saying, Jesus, Son of David, deal kindly with me. And those going before him were rebuking him, that he might be silent. But he was crying out much more, Son of David, deal kindly with me. And Jesus, having stood, commanded him to be brought to him. And he, having come near, he questioned him, saying, What do you will I will do to you? And he said, Lord, that I may receive sight. And Jesus said to him, Receive your sight, your faith has saved you. And instantly he received sight, and was following him, glorifying God. And all the people, having seen, gave praise to God.